Chapter 2. The Gathering of Busty Beauties. So, where are you taking me exactly? I feel a little exposed, she said, making an attempt to cover her chest and other places with her arms. You're the final arrival on this summoning day. It's time to get the ball rolling with orientation. We're all women here. Your natural state shouldn't be a problem, should it? Wayla asked as she walked just ahead of her. No, not really, she responded. There was an awkward silence between the two as they walked through the forest. Exactly how far is this meeting place? She thought to herself as she looked around. The ground was paved, but the grass had broken through the cobblestone road in many places. The plant growth was all around, trees which stretched as high as the eye could see, bushes and vines which had overtaken poles, rocks, and other landscape features. So is it common for a person to forget their name after? What did you call it? A summoning? She asked. Yes, quite common. After all, I was the same once. And to be honest, you may never fully remember your past life. What do you remember so far? Wayla asked as she continued walking. Well, honestly, I used to be a man. At least I think I was. This body doesn't seem natural to me, although I'm getting used to it. I see. Judging by Wayla's response, this wasn't a surprise to her. Anything else? Wayla added. No, that's it, she replied. Well, give it time. Besides, we're about to choose a new name for you anyway, Wayla said, a slight air of reassurance behind her words. After a 15-minute walk, the two arrived in a small clearing with a large marble statue. There at the foot of the statue were a set of stairs and over 24 young women standing about. What's more, most of them looked just as uncomfortable as she felt, most likely because they were bare naked. She couldn't help but bite her lip. No doubt her face betrayed her excitement as she cast glances from woman to woman. Bodies of all types, big and small. Pink, dark chocolate, red hair, blondes. The more she looked, the more she wondered what good deed she'd done in a past life to be blessed with such a feast for the sight. Willa motioned for her to join the group of other women as she walked to the front of the crowd. As she slipped into the group of women, she noticed a dark-skinned woman with an extremely fit body staring at her. Her abs were chiseled, her arms muscular. Indeed, she couldn't help but stare back at the woman. The dark-haired beauty flashed a smile, prompting her to turn and face the front. What the fuck was that? My heart just spazzed out, she thought internally as she clasped her chest. Attention, ladies. Welcome to the Planet Adventure. You may be wondering how you arrived at this place. All of you here are travelers from another realm and a different life. As sentient beings who performed some event of merit, your souls were collected and recycled into the great game we call life once more. Many of you have memories from your past life. Those of you who do will find this a small comfort. Those of you who lack memories, fear not, for this place, the Wilderness Tabernacle, was designed to help you quickly grow accustomed to your new life. Wayla spoke loudly so that all within the crowd could hear. What did she say? A whole other planet? You mean I died? No way. This must be some kind of weird dream, right? A shockwave of murmurs rippled through the crowd as various women whispered to one another in disbelief. I will now impart upon you a blessing as an adventurer. Everyone here, hold up your left hand, Wayla commanded. She did as beckoned, struggling to keep her eyes in check as the gentle bounce of jiggle physics caught her eye. Wayla then closed her eyes and clasped her hands together. A white magical circle appeared at her feet and traveled the length of her body before stopping at her crown. This circle spun several times before fading away. Suddenly Wayla's hair began to flow, as if one with the wind, prompting a gust of air to travel outward. This strange wind was refreshing and caressing, touching all within the crowd along the midriff. The sensation was so relaxing that she forgot where she was for a moment. The strange energy flowed upwards along her spine and eventually settled on her raised left hand, revealing a strange mark. This is called the Blessing of Adventurers, Systema. This spell will allow you to interface with the laws of this world and grant you extraordinary power, Wayla explained. Please, enter your name. A strange prompt appeared before her eyes. Nothing came to mind, and so she decided to say as much when the prompt changed. Registering randomly generated name. Agni Heartfire. Is this acceptable? I guess, she thought to herself, and once more the system responded by accepting the name. Hey, wait. Name cannot be changed once selected, came the response. Agni clicked her tongue loudly and rolled her eyes. There was little she could do after all. Adventure system, all 9. The words appeared next, followed by a percentage which rapidly began to rise. Around this time, Agni felt a tingling sensation rising up from the tips of her toes to the crown of her head. Scan complete. Auto-signing adventure class. Agni whispered to herself as she watched a massive interface expand before her. Within each box was a small icon representing one of hundreds of adventure classes. Warriors of all types, magic wielders, and even monster classes. This is pretty awesome, Agni whispered in amazement as she watched the system scroll through dozens of classes before the cursor stopped on a particular one. Wait, a suck. Agni barely got the words out of her mouth before a bright yellow light enveloped her body. She could feel a cold sensation tracing its way along the surface of her skin in various places as her magical veins began to grow in. Next, her lower back felt warm as a long, thin black tail sprouted outward, at the end of which was a spade-shaped tip. Agni could feel her incisors growing longer and sharper ever so slightly, her fingernails growing longer as well. Finally, she could feel pressure against her skull as 2 horns began to grow in. The whole process took less than 30 seconds, and during the process, Agni felt absolutely no pain. In fact, it felt exhilarating. She opened her eyes and noticed she'd undergone a complete physical change. Her body felt heavier, more muscular perhaps. Her hair grew longer and changed color as well. Once a brunette color, it was now vermilion red and reached down to the middle of her back. This is amazing, Agni said as her tail flitted to and fro. It seemed to have a mind of its own until she focused upon it. She could also feel a strange power swirling within her. She instinctively recognized it as magic, and the feel of it was bubbling out so much so that a thin aura of energy began to waft upwards from her body. Class selection complete. Agni Hotfire class. Lower Succubus registered.